not a writer.
Okay.
If I find my way home, yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, but you still amaze me. Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, but you still amaze me. Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, but you still amaze me. Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, but you still amaze me. If I find my way home, yeah. If I find my way home, yeah. Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, but you still amaze me. Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, but you still amaze me. Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, but you still amaze me. Wouldn't it be crazy? Oh, but you still amaze me. If I find my way home, yeah.
This is the move. For those who
What we do here is go back.
Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
I could be learning, you could be yearning to see what's behind these closed doors. But I promise you, baby, I'll always be yours, baby.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Child of Mecha live stream. My name's Tim, the one and only Child of Mecha, and it's Monday, everybody. So everybody's got a case of the Mondays, right? Some of us, excuse me, have a case of something else. I have a cold, which sucks because I've been in bed or laying down or resting pretty much all day. Still not feeling the greatest right now, but we're going to soldier on. We're going to get through this stream, and we'll show you cool books, show you some cool stuff here, duplicating all that detail on the shoulders, and ultimately, I think we'll have a very good time. So, but for future reference, if I seem a little lethargic, a little less energy level, and coughing and clearing my throat constantly, you guys know why. So, without any further ado, let's get some business out of the way, shall we? Rocking the I Build Giant Robots retro tee tonight. Nice yellow color here. Everybody needs some yellow shirts. Get some yellow shirts in your life. You can get that on the Child of Mecha store on childofmecha.com. Hit the store link up near the top, and that will transport you to a wonderland of amazing products, t-shirts, hats, bags, etc. Probably some other stuff in the near future as well, like we showed last Friday. Pillows, especially. Designed some really cool pillows over the weekend, aside from your normal logos and stuff like that you guys are used to seeing. I wanted to create pillows that your wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, significant other wouldn't mind displaying in the living room. So more decor pillows. So I think I've accomplished that. I showed the designs to my wife, and she's just like, yeah, I wouldn't mind having those in the living room. So ching, I think that's a winner. We'll get those out as soon as possible, but one step at a time, right? First, I got to get better. Excuse me. You're going to hear that a lot tonight, guys. A lot of clearing my throat and all that good stuff, too. So, what else? Go and donate to the Gunpla Talk fundraiser, and you could potentially win this model. One lucky donor will win that very model, the perfect grade Astray red frame. Why they named that, I have no idea. It's such a mouthful. Anyway, one lucky donor will be selected at random to win that. No minimum, no maximum donation. Everybody is welcome. And everybody's welcome around the world, except for, Singapore. There's a slight hiccup there in good old Singapore, but we have ways to get around it. So if you are watching from Singapore and you do want to participate, contact us at Gunpla Talk. One of the guys, anybody, on our show will be able to assist you in that. We'll get you entered and all that good stuff. There's also going to be some other little trinkets given away. We talked about that. The little resin busts from Paint Pusher. He's sending those over. We got about 6 of those coming. So those will be fun to give out and everything. So tonight as well, if you see any of the tools that I work with, you can find those on the little Amazon link underneath on YouTube or over on that side of Facebook, and hit that up. There's links to all this stuff. It's all sourced and everything. A ton of different books for your viewing pleasure, to get some inspiration for your next project. And the book that we are going to look at tonight, unfortunately, is not available on Amazon, but it's a hell of a book, guys. You will definitely enjoy this one. So, without any further ado, let's say hi to the people in the chat, because I think there's some good folks out there. Let's start with Facebook real quick. My boy Michael Boggle is with us. He is an amazing, amazing tattoo artist located down there in New Orleans. So if you guys are down there at any point, Mardi Gras, conventions, maybe just visiting, who knows? And you want to get some ink, look up Michael Boggle. He is just so talented. And he's also a kick-ass modeler, and he builds some really crazy cosplay as well. Built this full suit RX-78 suit that he rocked one year, and it was just mind-blowing. So shout out to Mike, man. Go over to Instagram and what is it, Mike? Boggle, I think Boggle_builds, I think is the build site. And then I think it's Boggle if you want to see some kick-ass ink. Holy shit. I mean, the guy just makes works of art on people's arms and skin and stuff. So, good dude. Real good dude. So, shout out to you, Mikey. Thank you for watching over there on Facebook. I really appreciate it, bud. Let's see who's over here on the... Jeez. Wake up. Let's see who's on the good old YouTube. Boggle. Thank you, Mike. So M_Boggle, B-O-G-L-E is the his tattoo page, and then Boggle_builds is more for his models, cosplay, and other really cool building stuff. Go give him a follow, man. It's so worth it. So worth it. But thank you, Mike. Thank you for getting me the right pages there, buddy. So thank you for joining too. Thank you for watching, man. It means a lot. Let's see who we got. Captain Weirbeard says, yo, yo, yo. Automoto says, hello, Tim, and hi, everyone. Hello, Automoto. It's a good name. It's a good name to say. This is fun. Bailey is with us, as always. Man, always dependable, Bailey. Gamer Bud is with us. Andrew Young. Man, don't you have college tomorrow, kid? Edwin RSA. William Wilms. I know I saw... Yep, there's Barkana. Ace Schultz is with us as well. Doing some big things, putting together orders and stuff like that. So that's fun. So... hello, guys. Thank you for watching, as always. But without any further ado, let's get into this kick-ass book. I'm sure every single one of you will love this book. Shall we? So let's switch to 2 camera and bang! You've heard us talk about it. The one, the only, Master Archive. Whew, guys, if you don't know about this series of books, you're missing out. You're missing out big time, dude. Seriously. These books are obviously going to be all in Japanese. Excuse me. And you're only going to be able to get them from, Japanese retailers, HLJ, HobbyLink, the other ones, I don't know. But this series of books is absolutely crucial if you want to get some insane ideas for details, panel lines, notches, all that good stuff. We're going to flip through this. You guys, your jaw will probably drop to the floor, and probably you'll end up spending a lot of money probably by the end of tonight on these books. These are amazing. So, without any further ado, this is the Zeta Gundam book. Currently, I only have 2 hardback or tangible copies. I have virtual copies of a lot of the other ones, but you just got to get them. You got to buy them for just to have them and hold them in your hand, right? So let's go through this. This is just an amazing, amazing book. So it starts off with some really interesting computer graphics, really cool stuff, but that's not really where the massive worth of this book is. You guys, look at this line art. Holy shit. This right here, for me, is the absolute most definitive example of what line art and these giant mechanical robots should look like. It's absolutely just amazing pieces of art. Everything just makes mechanical sense. Um, you know, from the inserts and the panel lines, some of the notches and things, the angles of different panels and parts and all that. It's just absolutely astounding, you guys. And I don't have much to say a lot really about this book, other than it's just mind-blowingly amazing, right? So let's go through this. I mean, you even got like Wave Rider form, and you'll see this throughout the book. Just I like these better than, and this is going to sound like heresy, I like these better than the Kotoki versions. There, I said it. It's out there. There's no bringing that back. I did it. I said it. I admit it. And you guys know me. I'm a huge, huge, huge Kotoki fan, but I am more of a fan of this than his work at this point, just because this is just so detailed and so nice. So, I mean, look at this. You guys, you get a breakdown of where these different warning markings go on pretty much all aspects: front, back, sides, the binders, front and back of the binders, all over the place. The different markings, you know, the unit designations and faction designations and things like that. It's just astounding. There's nothing better than, honestly, than these books. There really isn't. Excuse me. And it kind of shows you the progression of the Zeta line. And it just kind of goes from side to side. Now, mind you, the variations of these are somewhat small, but you can definitely notice differences in the overall look. Like this one here, this is the OG Gundam Zeta, and then this is the, I forget what this one is particularly called, but it has got like the bigger shield on it, things of that nature. Man, just really, really crazy. You got the that special one there, the 3S. Excuse me. Just amazing works. Absolutely amazing works. And you've got all sorts of variations of the Zeta here too. And what's so special, the reason why I love this book, honestly, is for these parts right here. Let's see if we can get a little bit of glare off of there. Okay, so those boosters right here, these are on the Zeta, the binder and everything. These are the boosters that I took inspiration from for the Hummingbird boosters. And there they are. Ripped basically right from the page. These binders are almost exactly like that. I did change up the length, some angles and things, subtracted some of the detail that I didn't necessarily care for, but these were the binders, these were the back boosters that went on to the Hummingbird. So, man, just inspiration abound in this particular book. Again, different versions of the Zeta Gundam, you know, front and back. I mean, just, let's get you zoomed in, because you got to see the detail on this thing, because it's just really insane. Just the detail in the back skirt alone. I mean, look at that. That's insane. And I know I'm repeating myself, but there are very few words other than what I'm using to describe the high quality of this particular book. Yeah, guys, it's just crazy. I mean, look at the inner detail right here on the inner part of the arm is just so spectacular. The detail on the skirt armor, man, it really just does not get much better than this, right? So, let's save our place here, get zoomed back out so you can kind of see a little bit more of this guy here. Yeah, I used a toothbrush as my bookmark, so what? All right, so let's keep going here, guys. This is the mid model, very cool looking. Wave Rider, all the different forms and stuff, just great. And then this is really cool, the different variations of Wave Rider mode. You've got kind of a, this one almost has the nose cone of almost like a Zeta Plus A1. This is your more traditional Gundam Zeta. And then again, this down here has more of a Zeta Plus C1 kind of nose shield there. So interesting, you know, aesthetic choices and differences there. This is the late model Gundam Zeta. Again, different, slight, just very slight variations in the different ones. This is the Strike Zeta. I think this is the one, excuse me, from, I forget where exactly what this is from. I think it was from like one of the movies they showed at Gundam Base Tokyo back before it became Gundam Base Tokyo. Could be wrong though. I'm not 100% sure on that. I'm sure somebody will know. I'm just not up to that. Really great artwork of the Hayaku Shiki, since that was kind of a an evolution of the Zeta. Just one of the best artworks of the Shiki that I think I've ever seen. The detail is just amazing. It's outstanding. Then you've got the Zeta kind of prototypes, the 1, 2, 3 Zetas. You've got the X1, X2, and then the X3 versions. I think most of us that are familiar with the Zeta line are more familiar with the X1 because that's kind of more Hayaku Shiki-ish, if you will. So, yeah, it's, man, so good, this book. So good. And then you of course, you've got my personal favorite, the Zeta Plus. Now, fun fact, if you guys know of Josh Dara, and let's be honest, who of you don't at this point? He's on Gunpla Talk with us, and he made a really kick-ass Zeta model, I think 2 years ago, and he based it off of this very line art, this one right here. So looking at this and comparing it to his, you'll see many similarities, especially like here on the top of the upper legs and things of that nature. He used different upper legs and all that. He elongated the legs, he elongated the forearms and some of the other parts, shrunk the head a little bit, elongated the shoulders, all sorts of really cool stuff. Go buy his book too, because you can pay what you want. JoshDara.com. Go pick that up because he documents his whole build process on his Zeta. And one of the best parts for me are the flyaway, the blowout portions here, because you can actually see the different connectors and different details, the inner workings of these things, which are just so awesome to look at, right? I mean, this page right here alone, I mean, you can get so much inspiration from this. These details right here on the back of the collar. I mean, this one little detail right here, just right there, this little guy, you can, use that, kind of try to replicate that detail on other parts of other models and stuff. So, man, this is, it's so worth the money on this book. The different variations of the Zeta head. Excuse me. You got the front, you got the back, all sorts of different cool stuff. I mean, they even include the detail on the back of the V-fin, which is just, I mean, what other book would give you that, right? Not many. Not many. The different shields and body armor. Man, look at these. This just, these two right here, just so awesome. And some more blowout images of the details, the inner workings and things, just great. Just really, really great. And there's a ton of it too. Like here's the arm, and you can see the inner workings of, you know, a Gundam arm, right? A big mech arm. It's just wild, just absolutely wild. Shoulder, and it just goes through body part by body part on here. Just, I know I'm repeating myself, guys, and I'm sorry for that, but I'm just so absolutely blown away by the quality of this book every time I open it. You just get kind of lost in it, and you get kind of lost for words. I mean, this is the inner working of the ankle of the Zeta with all the armor off. It's just, wow. The bottom of the foot, you can get so much inspiration from that. Look at this. All the little greeblies and qualities and everything, just superb. And then you've got kind of more some, you know, some stories, background, and stuff like that in the back of these books. Obviously, we're not going to be able to read that unless you know Japanese, which I really don't. And then warning markings again. This is in Wave Rider form, and some other cool, interesting, you know, three-dimensional designs. Cockpit of the Zeta and all that. So, and of course, weapons. All these beautiful weapons. Just really, really, really cool. Weapons all around. And that's it, yeah. So, these books particularly go for 2,400 yen, or about $24 US. Now, depending on where you get these, obviously you're going to have to pay for shipping. Books are heavy. So, go buy some. You won't regret it. Trust me. You will absolutely not regret picking one of these books up. Seriously. These are so great. These are amazing. Absolutely amazing books. All right, guys. Let's get caught up in the chat, shall we? Let's see what's going on. Let's check over here on good old Facebook tonight. So Carlo Castro says hello. Looking forward to this webcast. Sorry, guys. This cold is killing me right now. Hello, Carlo. Thank you for joining. Aaron Conklin is over there watching at work. Don't tell my boss. Your secret's safe with us, buddy. He says the book looks gorgeous, dude, and it really does. It's awesome. It really is good. Hey, what's going on? Look at that. Over on Facebook, Irad is with us. He is the owner of the one and only Gundam Kitchen in beautiful Blackwood, New Jersey. For those of you that don't know, I know we've mentioned the kitchen a bunch of times before. The After Dark specials and the After Dark specials, and obviously the classes that we go up and teach at. But Irad is actually, he's got a little bit of a fundraiser himself going right now. And if you guys aren't familiar with it, you probably should be, because it's an amazing store. Go check it out. The Gundam Kitchen on Facebook and on Instagram. They're raising some money because they are actually moving to a bigger location. So go support, man. It's so worth it. You know, the days of local shops are dwindling down. So I think the Gundam Kitchen is one of those true success stories that I think we just kind of need to embrace and really get behind. So I donated to it. You guys should too, even if you're not local to Blackwood, New Jersey. It's a great store. He runs an amazing shop. All sorts of good stuff. So go support him. Go hit him up. It's an Indiegogo fund, and yeah, it's for a good cause too. So go hit him up. Whoa. Excuse me, guys. Man. It's cold. It's kicking my ass. All right, so let's get to work, shall we? Let's get the Jesta pulled in. All right. Thank you, Andrew. I appreciate that, buddy. All right, so let's show you the shoulder that we're working on this evening. Worked on this a little bit over the weekend, and did some excuse me, did some detailing obviously on that, and kind of just rough put it together with the chest, the shoulder, the arm, obviously, just to kind of get a good cohesive look at this thing. You can kind of see the vent right here that we put together on Friday. And then obviously some other details that I've added to the shoulder. I'm not necessarily done with this shoulder just yet. I want to add a little bit more here, just some minor details, some other panel lines, some notches and things, of course. But for the most part, this is kind of the form that I've wanted to accomplish. Put a bar here. And I just kind of like that look, that excuse me, that GM Type C Verka look. The ground Gundams have, the grab bars on the shoulders and stuff, and I just kind of like that look. And for this kind of grunt GM suit, I thought that it just kind of lends itself to to the overall appeal of it. So, all right, so let's take this guy apart. Let's go into this a little bit more detail, shall we? We're going to put the torso off to the side. We're going to put the arm off to the side as well. Let's kind of go through this and really get into some detail and stuff. So, let's take a look at the top first. So, all right, so again, here's the vent that we made on Friday, and we've got little brother here waiting in the wings. So what I did, let's take this apart piece by piece, and I'll kind of probably be better to show you what I mean here. So on Friday, I showed you how to separate this top part from the side of the shoulder, because before this was all just one piece, and I just don't like that. It's too much room for mistakes when you remove the when you take it off the shoulders. So, and I like to be able to detail this part individually, right? So let's start with this here real quick. We'll put these off to the side. So cut out a slot here in the actual piece for the vent to slot into. Brought some plastic strip. It's going to be a long night, guys. It's going to be a long night. Brought some plastic strip up the sides and over onto the other angle here, the top surface. Got a nice wide kind of plastic strip there, cut at bevels. Excuse me, and then a couple panel lines just to give it a little visual flair on top there. So overall pretty simplistic, but this is kind of the most detailed piece thus far on the shoulder, right? So we'll put him off to the side, and let's bring the sides in real quick here. So with the sides, what I wanted to do was add a little bit of strip to the top of the shoulder, excuse me, to basically make this piece almost like a recessed panel. So there's a good 0.5 millimeter between the surface of the top of the shoulder and this surface right here. That says, did you say strippers? Where are they at? Dude, I wish. Probably not in my current condition though, buddy. So I wanted to, like I said, add this strip here to give it a bit of height, so that I managed to do that. And then on the front here, there are molded in notches, I think there's 3 of them around this piece. Filled those in with just simple super glue. trimmed them down, made them flush, sanded them flush, and then went ahead to build the plate up here. So very simple to shape these. And you guys have seen me do this before. I just take some Scotch tape, right? Apply this to the shoulder and then just trace that with a pencil, and then you've got your shape. Take the tape off, put it on a piece of plastic, cut that out, trim to size, finish sand on the edges and everything to match the shape that you want it to, and you basically got that shape. Now, what I've done is I have duplicated these parts 4 times over, and that's actually pretty simple, and I'll show you how to do that here momentarily, because I think everybody should know how to duplicate parts like this, especially since they need to be mirrored on 2 parts here too. So we've got just some 1mm plate here and also here, just to give it a little bit more beef on the shoulders. And kind of what I'm envisioning is almost like reactive, kind of, I guess, Chobham armor. I don't know. They have it on tanks and stuff. So that's kind of where I got my inspiration from. I do need to add some panel lines to this, maybe some notches and things like that as well. So overall, the sides of the shoulders aren't all that complicated, right? So, and then on the inner frame, obviously, the inner shoulder, I added this bar, this kind of maintenance bar for dragging around maintenance bays and stuff. You know, they would hook into this, and they would just, you know, with cranes, you know, overhead cranes, just drag that around the maintenance bays and stuff like that if they needed to. Or if they needed to separate, say, the upper body from the lower body, they could do that too. I mean, you guys have seen, you know, the animes and stuff like that. You know what I'm talking about. So this was all made from, let's see, these are 1mm plastic strips, the sides. The bar itself is 1.6mm plastic rod. And then, of course, you've got just some little round molds on either side to kind of accentuate that mechanical, you know, heavy look, right? And then just for flavor, I went ahead and put some metal pieces in those 2 kind of just open holes there in the shoulder, which just kind of looked weird. And they're just kind of sitting in there temporarily. I'm going to go ahead and remove these right now as we speak, just so I can put these away, not lose them, because these little guys are not cheap, right? And plus, actually, they don't even make these styles anymore. This kind of roundy, this round O kind of bolt, if you will. Let's get super zoom in there, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. There it is. So it's just, you know, it's just a 2.5mm wide, just a simple O bolt, and I just really like the looks of these things, right? These are really, really cool. I bought a bunch of them when Hobby Search was basically discontinuing these, because these are old high-Q designs, and they just, unfortunately, they don't carry this particular design anymore, unfortunate. But I really like these. I've used these on a bunch of different builds in the past, and I just I really like them. And I thought that that little hole there on either side of the shoulder needed something like that, right? So very cool stuff there. Okay, so let's get to business here about replicating excuse me, some of these designs. Okay, first and foremost, what we need to do is to fill in these little molded in notches. There's 3 of them here. One here, one there, and one there, right? Now, this one is done. I've already filled this in, so we're going to set that off to the side. We'll come back to that here in just a minute or two, okay? But this one, like I said, all you have to do to fill those in is just use a little super glue. I really like the Loctite Ultra Liquid Control. That is my super glue of choice. It makes a wonderful filler for little details like this. Basically, you just take a sharp hobby knife and just shave off that kind of mound of super glue, and that's all you really need to do. And then you basically sand it flush, and they're filled in for you. So we're going to go ahead and do that here real quick, and I'll just show you, just quickly what all is entailed here. So just want a small drop of it here, and then with the tip of the super glue bottle, you just kind of want to spread that out just a bit, right? So you can see there, it's not spread out that much, but you do want it spread out just a bit, right? Just to cover. Same thing with this one here. And there we go. Now, if you don't put enough on, which can be the case, that super glue may settle and recess into that molded in detail. So you may have to apply it multiple times. But once you build that up, it's not going anywhere. It's super glue, right? Sorry, guys. Oh boy. Okay, so let's go ahead and trim off the super glue off of this piece here real quick, and I'll kind of show you how easy that it is. All right, so let's get the eyes on. Let's flip them down, and let's get to cleaning this up here. So what you really need is just a nice sharp hobby knife, brand new blade, the whole 9 yards. Thank you, Irad. I appreciate that, buddy. This is fun to me, so I might be sick, but this is actually kind of raising my spirits a little bit, so it is what it is. Sounds like you need some Irish coffee. Thank you, Rakan. I appreciate that over on YouTube. But it is what it is. Like I said, this is a good time for me, so I have fun with this. Because I never know where the night's going to go, right? We could go into some weird conversations on this stream. All right. So again, sharp knife, let it ride the surface. And all you're going to do is really lightly just kind of slice that top layer of super glue off, right? And that'll just peel off. And now you don't want to necessarily try to get it in one pass, right? You want to get most of it off, but then you want to go back and do kind of like a nice, tight, detailed pass at this thing, and just really kind of shave it down right to the plastic. And then once you've got it, change up the direction a little bit, and just make sure that that's all there. Now this is just basically, now this blade is just sliding across the surface, so that's flat right there. Obviously, since the super glue is clear, you'll still be able to see that, but if you try the fingernail test on it, your fingernail's not going to grab on this. Okay. So we do the same thing to all 3 of these details here. This one here looks like the super glue spread out a little bit more than what I would have liked. Not a big deal, because we just go through and trim that off. Real simple, right? Okay, looking good there. Change up the direction a little bit, make sure we get all of it. There's still a little bit left on the left side here. Looks good. One last pass at this, and I think we'll be fine. Just kind of getting the stray remnants of the super glue off the surface here. Simple. There we go. All right, last one. And again, just kind of take this off in layers. It's not important that you do it all in one pass, because that's not really what you want to do. Excuse me. You want to take it off in layers. You want to nibble away at it pretty much, and that will get you right where you kind of need to be, and that will diminish the chances of you marring the surface of the shoulder as well, because that would not be fun. So then you'd have to go back, fill it, do this whole process over again, and what's the point in that, pretty much? Okay, so now we've got all three of these little molded in notches filled, trimmed, and clean, right? Thank you, Irad. Irad over on Facebook says, that's a great tip. I would have used putty, but this works so much faster. And and that's a really good point that that Irad makes. That this is a lot faster, because I actually filled these in maybe, I don't know, half hour before the show, and you can see that they were fully cured, and this super glue is going to be more resilient and stronger than any putty that you're going to get out there, even epoxy putty. Because obviously super glue is an adhesive. It's going to stick into those notches and things much better than any epoxy putty, even my beloved Tamiya epoxy putty. That's going to really just grip on, and it won't let go. So, but once you do this, it's pretty much permanent. So be sure, that you want to actually fill those in, right? So with that being said, we're going to give this a quick wet sand here, and just smooth out the notches, and then we'll see kind of how we did. But basically, this should look kind of baby butt smooth here, and we're just going to get just a quick sand all across the surface. Now, for those of you that haven't been watching since the beginning, I completely suggest wet sanding, simply because you get a smoother surface. You won't kick up that dust which you won't then breathe in, and it'll just be so much easier, so much smoother. It'll just be a better time overall for you, and it'll be a much better surface for your particular piece as well. Okay, we're almost done here with this. We'll wash it off and see what the surface looks like here. Okay, so let's see what this looks like here. Dip that in the bin of water over here. Let's get this dried off with a paper towel. Get your hands dried off too, because you don't want stray water lying around on your piece or on your mat for that instance either. All right, we'll drop right there. Okay, so let's get super zoomed in on this so you can kind of really see what we're trying to accomplish here. And there we are. All right, so as you can see, this piece is really nice and smooth. You can see just the subtle shade differences of where those notches are, simply because the super glue is transparent. It's completely clear. You're going to still visibly see the notches, but man, you do a fingernail test on it, just run your fingernail over it, and that's just baby butt smooth right there on all three of those. So now you have a completely solid, clean surface which to build off of, right? So I highly recommend it if you guys are wanting to fill in these molded in notches, or say if you want to fill in panel lines that are molded in, or even if you messed up on a panel line or something like that, right? And you want to fill it in, use super glue. It's so convenient, and like Irad pointed out, it's so much quicker than using putty, and it's tougher and more resilient than any putty that you're gonna get on the market today as well. So so that's kind of what I do to fill in the gaps and stuff. So let's check in with the chat, because I know I haven't been doing that so much tonight, because there's a lot of stuff that I want to try to get through tonight for you guys, because the shoulders I think are coming out really quite nice, and I want to be able to show you how I replicate these details and stuff. So, but real quick, let's get caught up with YouTube, because you guys are talking up a storm over there. Let's see, let's go back a little bit. Let's see. Okay, so you guys were talking about the Master Archive books. Great. That's good. Awesome. Cool. Jay Lynch has some interesting modelers that he follows on his Twitter. Very cool. I do too. There's amazing Japanese modelers on Twitter, man. Just super cool. GM Lynch 85 on Twitter, I guess, is Jay Lynch's Twitter handle, so go check him out. Good stuff. And Burkana A. Schultz says, you sound like you need some Irish coffee. It will help your cough and your throat, and also helps with pain, especially with a little Baileys and Jamesons. Nah, man, I'm an Advil cold and sinus kind of guy, so I took that a little bit earlier. So I'm feeling a little bit better than I did before, but just, this thing's kicking my ass, plain and simple. It's a summertime cold, which is the worst. And I'm the type of person that I don't get sick too often, but when I do, man, it just hits me like a ton of bricks, unfortunately. So it is what it is. So, Andrew says, should take 12 pills and you're good. That's how I get rid of colds. 12 pills. Thanks. Want to kill me over here. Flimberger's checking in with us. He's watching Down Under. He says, good day, Tim. Good day, Craig. Thanks for watching, buddy. Hope you liked watching the last stream while you were at work. I saw your comment there. Thanks for that. That's pretty cool. Andrew Young says, so question, I want to fill in those gaps on the Master Grade Hazel Gundam shoulders. It's a bigger surface, but I don't think it's very deep. Would super glue work on that as well to fill in? I'm not 100% sure what they look like, but yeah, they should work, perfectly fine. You may have to apply multiple passes of super glue and then, trim it down, as you go. But yeah, it should work, as long as they're not necessarily all that, massive or anything. So yeah, they should work. It should work. He says, I figured baking powder or baby powder would do it. I mean, you could. You guys see, I don't even use, baby powder, when I fill in these little gaps. So, but I was wondering if just super glue can do it. I'm not crazy over mixing the powder because it's just messy. It can be. Excuse me. And Bailey says super glue by itself will shrink a bit over wider surfaces. The baby powder cornstarch acts as a filler to reduce the shrinking. I've never really applied it to, really wide surfaces. So, if I trust Bailey's judgment. So yeah, I would go with that, dude. He says, like the sand or other aggregate that gets added to typical concretes. Yeah, good point. Very good point. Julius Dembski's here with us. Welcome, Julius. Thanks for watching. Oh, I lost my point. Oh, there we go. He says, hey, have you ever had a problem with primer sticking to plastic after making it smooth with wet sanding? It depends on the primer that you use, buddy. The primer that I use is Mr. Surfacer. I usually use Mr. Surfacer 1000. It is a solvent-based primer, which will grip, and chemically bond with the plastic. I've never had an issue with that. Now, what you could be experiencing, if it's not the primer, if you are using a solvent-based primer, you could have contamination on the piece, meaning, body oils or some other contaminant, be it dust or something like that. My recommendation would be to strip that piece if you can, and then throw it in a little dish of 91% isopropyl alcohol. You can get that from places, drugstores, grocery stores, places like that. It's really cheap. That will absolutely clean a piece, 100% of oils, contaminants, everything. Now, you'll want to use gloves after that. Yeah, Kenneth, I do sound different today. I am, as Andrew pointed out, I am sick today. I have a cold, so hence the sign in the background. I am fighting a cold. So, but thank you for noticing, Kenneth. I appreciate that, buddy. But anyway, back to Julius. Yeah, so use some nitrile gloves or something like that to handle it. Get your primer on there, and you should be perfectly fine after that. Now, oh, Tim definitely need a drink regularly. Yeah, I wish, man. But Julius, if you're not using a solvent-based primer, Tamiya, Mr. Surfacer, All-Clad, something like that along those lines, if you are using an acrylic primer like Vallejo, which I absolutely don't recommend it, it's terrible, because that doesn't grip chemically. It just sits on top of the plastic, and if you do have contaminants on there, then that will just peel off like a tape off the roll. I've had very bad experiences with Vallejo, and my pieces were completely clean. So if you are using something along those lines, first and foremost, I would say switch to a better primer, but then secondly, go ahead through that cleaning process, and you should be good to go. So hopefully that helps. Andrew Young says, nah, I'm a soon-to-be chemical engineer. Just take 12 pills. Trying to get me an overdose here, Andrew. Thank you. I appreciate that. All the help I've given you over the years. Asshole. Let's see. Everybody was saying hi to Kenneth, and I need to drink regularly. Yeah, dude, I do. I so much need to. Ace Schultz, Percana over there on YouTube says, I'm going to try the Mecha Color Primer and see what happens. The top coat's pretty good. It's all acrylic, though. I'm not into that. I want something with bite, that will bite into the plastic. So a solvent-based primer, for me, is definitely the way to go. So if you can make it work, then more power to you. But it's just not what I recommend. You know what I mean? So anyway, Bailey says, I use acrylics exclusively, but I don't recommend Vallejo primer either. I like almost everything else Vallejo, other than Vallejo. Nice. Andrew Young says, hey, anything to get the hummingbird from you. Wow. So mean. Bailey says, I recommend Ammo of MIG one-shot primer. It works very much like a lacquer primer. Sticks strong, sandable, all the good stuff. Excellent. Yeah, I've never gotten into MIG stuff. I don't know. Number one, I don't have quick access to it. And number two, I'm stocked up on Mr. Hobby stuff for quite a long time. So I think that's what I'll stick with. That and SMS. What's up, Scott Taylor? I see you over there on Facebook, buddy. Guys, if you haven't seen Ryan's posting on USA Gundam, SMS paints are now available on the website. Go pick those up. Show Scott some love, because they're great paints, man. Airbrush ready, all made from down under, and he bottles them with love. He does. He actually puts a love component in there. It's mixed in with the carrier. I've seen him do it. Trust me. First-hand knowledge. So, yeah, go pick it up. Go pick it up. So, Scotty, I hope you're having a great day, buddy. So, that was big that Ryan posted that, man. So, that's awesome. That's awesome. So, love it when a plan comes together. Matchmaker, matchmaker, make me a match. Love it. Let's see. Hey Schultz, mixing paint is not something I've tried yet. Yeah, you have to be careful. For those of you that are familiar with Gunpla fixation, Jimmy over there, what he does, he mixes paint a lot, and he has this little kind of notebook, right? And he keeps record of basically his recipes to get different colors and things. He'll use a little eyedropper and drop in exact portions of paint, and it works flawlessly for him. So I'm not a huge paint mixer, custom color person myself. I usually like to go with what is readily available, simply because I don't want to necessarily risk not having enough or making way too much that I'll never use it again. And then if I ever do use it again, I may not have enough then. So I personally like to use what's readily available. That's just kind of my thing. So Burkana says, except for hand painting, airbrush is a whole nother story. SMS looks so good. It really is, dude. Really, really is. So, Scotty over there says, thanks, mate. Just dropping in quick to see what you're up to during a quick lunch break. Awesome. That has been rectified in recent batches. That issue was one of our teething issues. Oh, wait a minute. Someone says, he was replying to Burkana over there. Burkana asked a question over on Facebook. So, yeah. So, anyway, go buy SMS paints. Well worth the money. Well worth the money. And just, man, the metallics, the pearls, and the chameleon, the color shifting paints, so good. So good, you guys. So good. Let's see. Futubeoi says there is an email, too, about those paints. Yeah. I've seen the email that Ryan put out and posted and all that good stuff. So, yeah, he's doing the thing and getting the word out. So that's awesome. That's awesome. Andrew Young, oh yeah, Tim, have you seen the new airbrush E-Day designed? Yeah, E-Day partnered with Steenbeck and Hessel or something. I forget the name. It's a very high dollar German company, well-known maker of airbrushes. And yeah, they partnered up, and he's got his own kind of signature airbrush. So man, that's awesome for him, man. If anybody deserves it, it's him. One of the kind of godfathers of GBWC. So yeah, man, I'm super happy for him. That's awesome. That's awesome. Maybe one day child of Mecha. Who knows? Probably not. I'm just saying. Fingers crossed. You never know. Anyway. Excuse me, guys. Bailey says, looks like a good mid-tier airbrush for someone getting started. I guess E-Days. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't, other than seeing what E-Day has posted, I haven't really looked at it all that much. Just because I know the name brand is going to mean money, and I'm good with my Iwata for right now. So, Andrew Young says, that's smart. I didn't think the Xeon surface area was hella big, I used a lot more mixed paint than I realized, so I had to mix a different batch of blue and had to repaint all of it again. Andrew Young says, Kevin has an airbrush with his initials engraved. It's your turn, haha. Yeah, I wish. Bailey says, Harder Steenbeck looks to slot in under their infinity line. Okay. So yeah, so that's the name of it. I couldn't think of it off the top of my head. I know it's you know, like I said, it's a well-known German brand that's been out, and they make just, you know, $300-400 professional series airbrushes, just insanely you know, well machined products, you know, just, you know, BMW level airbrushes, right, guys? So but you're also talking BMW level prices when it comes to airbrushes as well. I'll stick with my Toyota, my Iwata level airbrush. I'm good with it. It's done me good for almost 20 years, so why switch it up now, right? If it ain't shit, I just screwed that one up. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. There we go. Finally got it out. All right, let's get back to work here, shall we? Let's do a time check. 11:01. Cool. So we got about another hour or so. Let's start to work on the top part here, and I'll show you kind of how we do that here. First, we need some plastic strip. This is 1/2 mil, I think. Let's double check to be sure. Yep, 1/2 mil. Okay, so this is 1/2 millimeter plastic strip. This is 3.2 millimeters wide. Now, we're not obviously going to need that on top here because none of this is 3.2 millimeters wide, but what I really like to do is overlap, you know, both sides and then trim it down to get a perfect fit, right? So what I do, and I did this on these two parts here to get the height on the shoulders. So right there to get this height. First thing we need to do is, first, I almost forgot, we need to sand this a little bit, scuff this up to give it a little bit more bite and a little bit more evenness, because what I found is the Jesta shoulders are a bit rounded in spots, especially right up here. You might be able to see the finish difference there after sanding with a flat block. There's leftover space here and a little bit left over here. So basically what you have is this high point in the middle because it's a little rounded at the top, right? So just use our flat sanding block and just kind of get that nice flat, scuffed up, all that good stuff, and get this ready to apply that strip. There we go. That's good to go there. All right, so now all we have to do is to trim off a little piece of this plastic strip before we apply the super glue. Right about there. You want to leave a little hangover from both sides. Number one, to be able to grip it easily with your tweezers, but then also so that you have enough hangover there to trim that up and make that flush and all that good stuff. Scott says, got to get back to work now. Catch you on the next stream, mate. Thanks for the SMS love. Dude, always. Always, man. And Scotty, if you're still on, I know I owe you an actual video review. We're going to be working on that very soon. So, you know, I wanted to wait until they were available so we can maximize all that attention getting to it. So, get you some sales too, buddy. So, awesome. So, Scott Taylor, everybody. SMS paints. Go pick them up at USA Gundam Store if you're in the U.S. or if you're in Australia. You can probably get them almost anywhere. So, all right, so we're going to put a bead of super glue on here. And you want to get enough, obviously, to cover this whole surface because adhesion is going to be important. And if you get a little bit too much on here, that's not going to be a big deal either because that's just going to squeeze out and help fill in any gaps that may form from applying this. So basically just take your tweezers and just pop that right on there, and then just kind of press that down into place, and that super glue will start to squeeze out the sides and other places as well, and just press that down nice and neat all the way across. Make sure you get good adhesion on this because that's super important. And yeah, so you got squeeze out on all four sides. So that's actually a good thing, right? Because we want the super glue to squeeze out, because then we know we have proper coverage for this particular piece. So we're going to let that cure just for a few seconds here while we catch up with the chat. Excuse me. Bailey says, oh, back to my, kind of referring back to my Toyota comment. He says, Bailey says, Iwata equals Skyline, RX-7, or Supra. I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take that. Andrew says, I mean, his airbrush on USA Gundam Store is 160. Don't know if it was that awful of a price. Yeah, 160 is not terrible. You know, I honestly didn't look at the pricing, mainly because I wasn't going to buy it anyway, because I got a suitable airbrush at this point. So I saw it and I was happy for him. You know, that's kind of like every modeler's dream, is to have kind of, you know, to put your name on something and have, you know, like I guess like a signature tool, you know, named after you. So I was happy for E-Day. But yeah, 160 is not that bad. If you guys are looking for a higher end airbrush, I guess. Pretty cool. Andrew, all right, college boy has an exam tomorrow and he hasn't studied much. Well, you're now starting at 11 o'clock. Great job, buddy. This was a good procrastination break. I'll watch the rest in class tomorrow. Nice. Have a great night, Andrew. Thanks for watching, buddy. Excuse me. Bailey says, I just gave my students a quiz, and it's an online quiz. Man, you're too nice, dude. Andrew says, I don't want to talk about it. Stupid transport phenomena. No clue what it's on, and I'm so lost already. Great. Oh, my. That's awesome. Bailey says, well, then I say good luck to you then. He's going to need it. He's going to need it. Futabeo, he says, did you make some heat sinks? Will add to my next build for sure. Yeah. Check out Friday's stream. We did that. We made these little guys right here. Basically, I made the first one that I used in this piece, and then on stream, I duplicated this step by step for everybody. And yeah, I thought it went pretty well, very informative and everything. But there are a bunch of variations that you can use on this type of design, and it's not hard. It's just kind of tedious and just one of those, you know, kind of nails on or fingernails on chalkboard type of practices, you know. So anyway. Oh, okay. Did that last Saturday, or correction, Sunday. Oh, cool. Cool. Did make some heat sinks. We'll add to. Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking a question there, Fugabaoi. I'm sorry. So sorry. Being sick, it just, right? But that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, there were some people on Instagram that tagged me in some, it might have been you, I don't know, but tagged me showing their heat sinks and stuff like that. I was like, that's cool, man, you know. It kind of made me feel good, made me feel happy, you know. So spreading the love, you know, that's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so this should be completely cured now, this piece, and we've only been talking for what, maybe, I don't know, a minute or two. So this thing is nice and solid on here. We can go ahead and start trimming this up. Let's do that here real quick. This is sort of like the strapping technique that we use. So we're just going to nip off the, you know, the giant excesses of plastic here, and we'll take the rest off with our hobby knife. And real simple on the inside here, just trim that off. You want to leave a little bit on there just to trim it flush, but for the most part, you want to remove as much as you possibly can. So what I like to do is to start on the inside here, right? And we're just going to let our hobby knife travel and just kind of ride on this inside edge here, and it's basically going to trim away that excess plastic strip for us. So if you guys can see the technique that I'm using here with the hobby knife, it's kind of like it's almost like a push kind of slice. And that's what I find to work really, really well, especially with, sharp hobby blades. So just kind of like a slicing motion, really. And that will work wonders. So there we go. And you might have to take a couple whacks at this, because this is right now, this is not flush. It's got some other, and this is a little hangover right here, right there. So now we're pretty good. So now all I got to do is take the blade of my hobby knife and just kind of scrape that down, and you'll see a consistent sheen on both the original part and then on the strip, and then that's when you know it's completely flat and joined and all that good stuff, completely even across the board. So very, very easy to do. Next thing I like to do is take care of the two sides here. We're going to get this one first, and we're just going to kind of rough cut the excess off here. Try not to get all that in one in your first pass, because that'll just not go very well for you. Just trim back as much as you possibly can first, and then kind of do a little bit of detail cutting, if you will. So now we're good here. So now we're gonna kind of make our first initial finish pass here, and just again let your blade kind of ride on that blue part there, and that will set it up and make it even, an even angle. And what you can do is you can even, bite a little bit and shave a little bit off on the blue part, just to make it super even with the white strip here too. I do that sometimes if I'm not really 100% comfortable with with what I've done, how if that's even or not. I'll just kind of shave off a little bit of the original part, just to make sure that that's nice and even. Excuse me. All right, so same thing with this side, and then we'll get we'll kind of get the front side, the beauty part. And this is a smaller surface on this side, so we need to be super careful with your knife work. Dexterity right here is very helpful, right? So, excuse me, guys. Okay. And there we go. That looks pretty good. All right. So now all we have left is this front part here, because there's a giant hangover right here. So we need to make that flush with this beveled edge. So since it's a nice big surface, this will be actually not all that hard. First thing first, obviously you want to take as much material off there, just kind of rough cutting it as possible. You don't want to try to even that up in your first pass. You want to basically nibble away at it, and you just want to kind of do this in like layers, if you will. Okay, and now that's ready for kind of the final pass here. So we're going to excuse me, you guys, rest our blade up against this surface, and we're just going to do that slicing motion, that slicing action, and just kind of go to town on this thing. Now, what you should be seeing is you should be getting a little super glue, and you should be getting plastic off at the same time. And if you're getting both, if you're trimming both off, then you're absolutely doing it right. Okay. Almost done here. Now, what you need to be careful of is this corner right here, this back edge, because what could happen is if you go super fast, you could tear out that back edge. What I like to do is go really, really nice and slow when I creep up on this back edge, and just kind of nibble away at it, like I said. And then also another thing you can do is just start to come in from this opposite side and work in from there. That's also another method to getting that nice and flush. Now, if you do that, there's going to be some unevenness here, and that's what I just got too. So you need to just kind of clean that up a little bit. Not a huge process, not a big deal. All right, so we've got most of that off here. Now it's just kind of getting the details finished up here. So we're just going to take our hobby knife and just shave this down to where it's super, super close and super even. And that looks really quite good, but still see a little super glue up on this front edge here. Yep, there we are. We're just taking that off. Okay, so that's nice and even there. And what I also like to do is just kind of scrape down the surface. This makes that super even. And it also makes that corner nice and sharp, nice and hard. Okay, that looks really good. All right, so let's get super zoom going on here, and I will show you what that looks like here. Okay. So there is the finished beveled piece. So looks nice and smooth, and you can see the angles are nice and even there, and on that side as well, nice and even. So then all you have to do is do the same thing to the two other sides of this particular piece, which we won't be doing right now. Let's first get into duplicating plates and stuff like that, because that's, I find that, some people just are not 100% sure on how to do something like that, right? So what we're going to do, let's get a nice wide strip. Here we go. So this is a nice wide strip of plastic, and we're going to cut out a shape. Now this is not any specific shape, this is just kind of something arbitrary that we're looking to duplicate, right? So I'll just cut something out here. This will probably be a little bit easier to cut that there, and then we'll cut this here on that angle. So obviously, you have, roughly two different angles there, right? And then say you want to bevel this side, and let's say you want to bevel that side, right? So now you have this crazy custom shape, and then also we want to angle that side down, say a little bit, right? let's angle it down just even a little bit more. There we go. All right, so say you have this particular custom shape that you need to duplicate 2, 3, 4 times, whatever. It's actually not that hard, all right? Let's see. Kenneth says, what to do if we over trim or slice, remove the entire piece and redo? You can. You can fill it back in with super glue. Because I've done that before. I've blown out the back end of the piece, cutting it too quickly, like I had mentioned. So that's why, you know, I wanted you guys to be cautious of that. You can do that. You can strip it off if you're so inclined to do that. But I would probably just fill it with super glue and kind of just trim it down and go from there. So, Bailey says, depending on how bad, you can add back with super glue. Yeah. There we go. And Bailey says you can even add a thin strip of styrene and laminate with cement. Yeah, that's another suggestion too. So that's what those are both things that I would absolutely do. So very good answers. Very good answers. All right, so we've got this piece. We want to duplicate it, but we're not exactly sure how. Well, that's where super glue comes into play again. Super glue is so great, you guys. So what we're going to do is to tack weld this piece on here. We want to get just a small little teensy weensy drop of super glue, and you can kind of see it there in the reflection, just really super small, right? And we're just going to glue that right on to another piece. Now, since we've basically tack welded it, this is going to be very easy to separate once we are done, right? Let's see. Bailey says, then carve it back down. The cement will turn that into one piece. Yeah. Fudabaoi says, so this was all on your online test. Oh. for Bailey's kids. Nice. God, you missed me there. Looks like Chris Wu is over there on Facebook. Nice. He says, hello. Great time to see sticky glue in action. Good one, Chris. Good one, Chris. Yeah. We're doing some duplicating of parts. And if you haven't noticed, Chris, I am fighting a cold, hence the sign over here. I'm probably not that big on on the screen right now, or even on a mobile screen. But yeah, I'm fighting a little bit of a cold, so it's not a huge deal. So, all right, so we've got this piece tacked on, right? We're just going to snip this strip off here, and then with our nippers, we're just going to trim this to that shape. Now, this isn't obviously going to be a finished part at this point. We're going to duplicate this part a few times more. Okay, so probably one more. So we're going to get 3 parts out of this. This is just trimming it to size, basically. Okay, so, and if you look at it, there's going to be overhang on the new plate, the upper plate, as opposed to the original bottom piece, or at least it should be. Try not to angle your nippers, too terribly there as well, right? So we've got these 2 pieces stuck together. On the new side of things, go ahead and tack on just a little drop of super glue and then pop that onto another piece of plastic. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to snip that off of there. We're going to trim this down right there, right there. We're going to get this into a rough shape first, and then we'll do some finish sanding and filing and cutting and all that good stuff. All right, so there's that. So now we have 3 layers of 1 millimeter styrene here. We're making into 3 custom shapes. So this it's almost like a pyramid. from the top piece is the thinnest, and then it just kind of angles down like that. So we need to take that in. We need to even everything up. Hey, Chris Wu, thank you, man. Chris over there on Facebook, he says, "Oh, take care, buddy." Thank you. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. So to do that, we can either use a sanding block like this, just a sanding stick. We could use a little file as well. What I like to do is I kind of like to go hardcore and use the good old bastard file here. So that's what I do. So with that being said, we're going to basically just start to grind down these pieces until they match the original. And we got to be super careful. And that's starting to get there already. So that's the beauty of a bastard file like this. It removes a lot of material very, very quickly. And you want to make sure that you're holding it nice and even, nice and square, as much as you possibly can. Because you do not want your angles being off or tilted or skewed in one way, because then that's just going to cause you to do more work, which sucks. All right. This side is just about there. That looks nice and even. So now I'm going to switch out to the sanding block and just kind of finish this off and make it nice and flat. All right, so we got that. Now, this is the important step, is to make sure that you have nice even sides. So to do that, I use my little wave T-square here. Looks like Mike Wine has joined us. He says, "Sup, brother?" Over there on Facebook. What's going on, Mikey Wine? Let's go with you, man. I'm sick. I'm under the weather. Not feeling the greatest right now, but I'm here, having fun with you guys. Okay, so like I said, once you get one side finished off, you want to check it for squareness. And that looks to be pretty dead on, right? Yeah, that looks really, really good. Because you're going to do that all the way around. You're going to make all these edges, all these angles, you're going to make sure that they're all square. If they are all square in correlation to the other sides, then you know you have a perfect 90-degree angle on all sides. If you know you have a perfect 90-degree angle on all sides, then you know you have a completely duplicated part. So pretend we did that on all four, or on all however many sides we have here. And so basically you have this super smooth, flush part, right? So to separate it, very, very simple. So, because these are just tack welded on. These are just, with little bitty drops of super glue. They're just, we just use that to keep it in place. So you look in pretty tight and you find where that edge is, and it probably won't be all that difficult. And you just stick your hobby knife in there, and that'll pop right off, just like that did, right? And then you do the same thing to all the other pieces. Boom. And now these two pieces are completely separate. Now, if you really want to see how accurate your sanding was, you put two corresponding edges against each other, and if they match perfectly, whoo, sorry about that. If they match perfectly just like, just like that, then you know your edges are completely good. Completely good. Hey, Nicholas La Parade there. La Parade? Sorry, Nick. Terrible at pronunciations. He says, "Hey, Tim, just jumping in for a minute. Been watching your streams, and they're great." Thank you, Nick. I appreciate that, man. That makes me feel good. A little under the weather, so, man, that's awesome. That's awesome. Mike Wine says, "I'm just watching fiber optics dry." Ew. That's fun. For those of you that don't know, Mike is building a Millennium Falcon kit right now, and he is adding fiber optics to the hull and to the details and things of that nature, and it's just so freaking cool to see, man. So check him out, Gundamonium, on Facebook. Go give him a follow, Mike Wine. Good dude, good dude. Excuse me. Let's catch up with the YouTube here. Billy, in regards to his class, he says, if only it would make grading so much more interesting. Nice. Carlo Castro has joined us over here on YouTube. He says, Tim, I saw your work on the beam saber. Still looking forward for how you did that. It looks awesome. Thank you, Carlo. I appreciate that, man. That's a good call, Chris. Chris Wu over on Facebook made a good comment. We'll come back to that, Chris, in just a second. I want to get caught up on YouTube here real quick. Hey, Carlo, the beam saber, just real quick for you here. All I did for this little beam saber was to put it in an electric drill. And let me show you here right quick. Here's my big old electric drill. We're going to set that off to the side. Let's zoom out just a little bit so it makes it a little bit easier to see what we're doing here. So, one thing about being sick is, man, you just get weak. Oh, jeez. I can't even get this thing undone. I'm so weak right now. All right, come on, you. Oh, fuck it. Jesus Christ. Can't even get the damn drill bit out of my drill. Man. Anyway, I used an electric drill, and I put these pieces in the electric drill. What I did was I put the lower half of the beam saber in, and which basically I just kind of did this little notch here, and then the hilt was a separate piece. I put that in separately and then just shaped this. I used a big 3mm chisel to bring this down, bring everything down to this size, and then I used a 1mm chisel to get this lower indentation there, and then just a 0.15 chisel to get this little line in here. And then I just used a 1mm chisel to kind of notch out a little box there, and then just put a little 1x1mm plastic strip in there to give it, you know, a button detail. You know, I thought that would look pretty cool. Sanded the bottom edge to this, beveled the top part of that, put it all together, bada boom, bada bang, and there you go. Yeah, it's basically a handmade lathe. Yeah, I've done it quite a lot. Not while I'm sick, obviously, because I can't even get the frickin' thing out. But hopefully that makes it a little bit clearer to understand how I did it. Because I don't think we're going to be revisiting that, you know, that process, so to speak. So hopefully that explains it for you, man. But thank you for watching, Carlo. Appreciate that. God damn. Bailey says, a Japanese builder on YouTube posted a video on this technique to duplicate parts for a Deep Striker tank. Nice. But he drilled through them knowing the hole is going to be off center on the other end. Not gonna lie, threw up in my mouth at the thought of it being off center. Nice, nice. See, when you need a hole in duplicating parts like that, what I usually do is drill the hole first, right? And then find some sort of rod that will match that up, and then put those, you know, connect those on the rod. The rod has to be tight in those holes to keep them square, right? And then just sandwich those together and go to town on them, and you should pretty much be good at that point. So that's what I usually do. So Fudabe always, Mike adding opening doors to it, automated opening doors. Nice. Mikey, you're getting love over here on YouTube about the doors and everything. So there we go. Carlo Castro says, thanks, Tim. You're welcome, Carlo. Thank you for watching, man. Even though we're, I'm a little under the weather tonight, hopefully that explains it. Bailey, exactly. I did that for a 3mm limb extension on Mica plant. Nice. Yeah, and that's not easy to do and line up perfectly. Most people just think, you cut a limb in half, you sandwich some plastic in there, and you just put them back together. No, it's not that easy. You gotta make sure everything is perfectly aligned, or that arm's gonna look like this, So you gotta be exact when it comes to limb lengthening. So anyway, let's get back to what Chris said over here on Facebook. Chris said, haha, you don't need to be 100% accurate, as we all modeler has to master illusion with paints and weathering. Yeah, that's funny. I do like to be as accurate as possible, but man, you can definitely, you can try to hide some things with paint and weathering and everything. So yeah, definitely a good call. Mike Wine says Falcon is done. Oh, okay. So the fiber optics are going on. Oh, sorry, I thought it was on the Falcon, dude. My bad. So no, okay. So Mike Wine is adding fiber optics to his Macross SDF1 from Hasegawa. And about the doors, he says, of course, why would today be any different? Right? There you go. Enrico Asanohashi just joined us on YouTube saying, what's up, everyone? What's good, Enrico? Thank you for watching, buddy. Now, obviously, since you're late, let's fill you in on some things. I am sick, so that's why I'm a little bit lower energy level than I normally am, but we're fighting through and showing some cool stuff. So Chris over there on Facebook says, for me, I use almost same method to duplicate parts. I use template cutting on a paper instead. Yeah, and there's a bunch of different ways to do it too. Like I will, and like what I did here, I just kind of, just came up with a shape just to kind of show the process, right? But say for instance, for these shoulder pieces here, I wanted those to be the exact same, shape for all four sides of the shoulders, front and back on both shoulders. So what I did was laid Scotch tape over the shoulder and then drew it out on the Scotch tape, and then transfer the Scotch tape over to like a plastic sheet, and then cut it out from there, and kind of did that, three more times to get the four parts. So actually what I did while I completed the first shoulder, I already made the different corresponding parts that I would need, custom for each shoulder thus far. So you got the two main front and back on the shoulder, you've got the two sides to the shoulder, you've got the two sides to the bar, you've got the bar itself, and then you got the little detail piece that goes on the end of the vent on the top part of the shoulder. So, basically just kind of pre-made those. It wasn't hard, obviously, but I figured pre-making those parts and then applying them on stream would be just that much easier for you guys to see and kind of get where we're going with this thing. So all right, so that's basically how you duplicate parts, right? So pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Let's put those parts back. Now, what we're going to focus on is that grab bar here. Excuse me. Right here on the edge of the inner shoulder, right here, right? That's what I want to try and build now for you guys. So what we've got here, and let's get a little zoomed in here more than what we were. So pretty much what I've got here is two 3.2 millimeter wide strips cut to 4 millimeter lengths, and then a 1.6 millimeter hole drilled into each one of them, and then I went ahead and beveled, just kind of hand bevel, just eyeballed those to size. So very simple to put this together, right? So you take your sides. What I do is no glue just yet. Insert these into the pieces. We'll apply glue here in just a moment. But just basically, we want to get these fit first. Make that almost as flush as you can in there, and make sure that it's kind of square all the way around. Just kind of spin that around and make sure that that bar is nice and square in that holder. You do the same thing for the other side, but a little bit more gingerly, because you don't want to disturb this one side that you've already gotten nice and centered and square and all that. So there's probably going to be a little, need for a little bit of an adjustment before final glue up here, but then you want to make sure that these are nice and square in there. So you want to try to find a flat, like a flat surface. I like to use the back edge of this because this is just like an acrylic block, and that's usually nice and flat. So I like to use that as a flat surface and get these all nice and flushed up. So there's our grab-on bar. That looks pretty good, pretty square on all angles. There's that little guy right there. So all we've got to do now is apply a little bit of glue around the bar, right? So I will grab this at the bar with my tweezers, because that's the most logical place right now to hold this thing, because we don't want to get glue on our fingers or anything like that, or touching it or anything. So we're going to just apply glue to the outside around the bar. Just like that. And then I like to get a little bit on the inner edge here too. Just all the way around. We're going to do that on both sides here real quick. What this will do with capillary action, that will seep in to the inside part of where the bar and the plate meet, and that will glue and bond it permanently. And pretty much you'll end up with something like that, right? So knock this over, so there you go. So that's essentially what we're duplicating here, right? Now, once the glue is cured here, we just basically flush up the outside just with a hobby knife, just shave off whatever is, whatever bar, plastic rod there is overhanging, right? We just trim that off, flush that up real nice and neat, make that super smooth, and then we just tack on some of these little round molds from Kotobukiya just to finish out the look, right? These are just 2 millimeters wide. The bar itself is 1.6, so it will actually completely cover that hole on the holder there, so you won't even have to worry about detailing that up too much. So I'm going to take this and we're going to put this off to the back here to dry, out of the way, and so that's basically how you make a grab-on bar. It's actually really, really simple, and you can do that in any any length, any size, width, whatever, and it just kind of adds a lot to the model. So there we go. Enrico Asanohashi said Scotch tape trick is always a lifesaver. Bailey says if you need to duplicate parts, make the masterpiece and then make the copies all at once and add an extra or two, saves headaches. Yeah, that's actually very true. I've done that in the past with like little finicky pieces, and yeah, you drop one of those things, you'll be cursing for days. It's kind of funny that Bailey mentioned that, because one of these parts right here, I actually, when I went to separate it, it went flying off, right? And I heard it go doink, doink, and then nothing. So at that point, I knew it was either on the back edge of my desk or was on the carpet. And for those of you guys that know, you drop a little itty bitty piece on the carpet, it's like a black hole, gone forever, sucked away in the ether, basically. So what I had to do was I had to get my little miniature mag light, get down on my hands and knees for about half an hour and search for that little damn piece, because I didn't want to duplicate it at that point. It probably would have saved time, but I wasn't feeling like it. I was determined to find the damn piece, right? So yeah, after about 30 minutes of searching, I found the thing, and all is good with the world, so to speak. So there we go. Enrico Asanohashi says, I've thought of like 5 ways of making these bars, but this one is definitely the most efficient one. Yeah, I mean, it's super easy. Now, obviously, if say if you don't want that kind of that flat angled holder look, you can take a little bit of heat and kind of heat bend those rods, and then you're going to get a curved rod look. But you do have to kind of be careful, because your bends need to be accurate and stuff like that. I've done that plenty of times before. Did that on the Blue Destiny for the scratch built shield. I had to heat bend a rod. And that's it can be a little tricky, but the look is great, right? So yeah, there's a bunch of different ways, but yeah, I kind of like this one myself, just because it looks heavy. It looks like it would be heavy duty, right? So that's what I like. M. Nielsen says, the dreaded carpet monster. Yeah, man. Yeah, we've all had run-ins with the dreaded carpet monster. I know. So let's see. Let's check in with Facebook. Chris Young over there, or Chris Wu over there. I'm sorry. He says, "Oh yeah, Japanese entry is out, and they are completely different level standard than I used to seeing on other countries." Oh yeah, Japanese modelers always bring it, man. I think they've been out for a few days, and because I think the first round is like internet voting or something like that. And so they let the public vote to see who the top contenders for the Japanese GBWC are. So yeah, they're insane. They're absolutely insane. So Mike Wine over there on Facebook says, "Got to go buy a t-shirt from your website, my friend. Looking great. See you soon." Awesome. Thank you, Mikey. I know you already dropped off, but if you're watching this, man, thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate it, man. Not sure if I'm going to be able to make it out in November to SCGMC, but if I do, man, I'll see you then. If not, we'll see you when we see you, I guess, right? So, very cool. Very cool. All right. So, we've got a lot of the parts already, a lot of the processes already done for duplicating the shoulders. This process here, though, for the top is obviously going to be the most involved. So, we're not going to get through all of the procedures for this tonight, but we will get through the most kind of the both the simplest and then also the most harrowing. We're going to get this little expander strip right here set in to compensate for the cutting from the actual shoulder. And then what we'll do, once that's all trimmed up, we will get this vent cut, this slot for the vent cut out of this thing, and we'll get that get that going, and then we'll circle back on Wednesday's stream, get this guy finished up, and hopefully by then I'll have the original shoulder done, so then we can continue with adding those details as well. So let's get working on this. Where is the shoulder piece? Here it is. Okay, so this side is the side that we cut off here, and there's still a bunch of, you know, kind of crap and just flash and everything, burr and all that stuff hanging on here. So what we need to do first is we need to trim that off, and just kind of going over it with your fingernail is usually plenty enough to get that crud off of there from cutting. But then also what you want to do is you just want to even that up and make it nice and flat with a sanding block or a file or whatever you might have at home, right? Excuse me. So that looks good. Make sure it's nice and flat and true. Wonderful. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to glue on a 0.25 millimeter strip. I need to pull one of those out here. Let me find one in my myriad of strip over here. That's not it. Where's my 0.25? There it is. Okay, so wait a minute. I think this is 0.25. This might be half. No, that's shit. That's half. Okay. No worries. What's this over here? That's not what we want either. I have a myriad of, like I said, of strips over here, but it's just finding the right thickness is the tough part right now. I think we've got it. There we go. Now we've got 0.25. Okay, so first things first. We need to cut a piece that will fit on this top side. Something like that right there, very simple. And this is going to be the same procedures as we did with raising the height on those two side shoulder pieces. Just a little bit of super glue on the edge, let it cure for a few seconds, and then we'll trim it flush. Just get that nice and even spread out there. And so now we will apply this right there to the edge. And just press that down with your tweezers. Get that nice and flush there. Okay, so now we want to do the same thing to the other angle here, but we want to first bevel this to match the angle that we are gluing to, right? And this doesn't have to be absolutely perfect either. It just has to be good enough, because we'll obviously come back and trim whatever we need to trim off. Oops. That right into place there. The glue set up a little bit quick on me there. No worries. If that happens, just reapply. Not a big deal. Just reapply glue, and then reapply the strip. And there we go. All right, now obviously I should have probably trimmed this off before I applied it, but didn't want the glue to set up, but shit, it did anyway, right? So there we go. All right, so now, just like the heightening the shoulder, we're going to press that into place, making sure we have great adhesion on this filler piece, and then just start to trim back whatever you don't need, right? And even on the other underside too, you just want to try to trim that back as much as possible. I mean, because if you don't need it, why keep it there? It'll just end up causing fitting issues and things of that nature. So it just makes sense to trim it to what the original piece looks like, right? So all you got to do. Let's see. Any... Nope, good there, and we're good there. Okay, cool. So now what we got to do is we just have to, like I said, trim this flush on top and on the bottom and on the two sides here. So since this is 1/4 millimeter, this is actually going to be really, really, really easy to trim up. Your hobby knife will go through this with no issues whatsoever. But you do need to be careful so you don't take too much off, because that could be problematic as well. Okay, let's get this top side trimmed off here. Like I said before, you just want to run your hobby knife and let it ride right on the surface of that of this piece, and then that way you will guarantee a nice flush trim on this plastic strip. Okay, almost done here with that. All right, so top side is good. We're just going to finish off the bottom. You don't need to be nearly as accurate with the bottom for obvious reasons. You're never going to see it. Okay. But you do want to trim it up just a little bit, because you don't want you know, any fitting issues or anything like that when you go to put this piece on the shoulder. If you have too much excess strip on here, it may be angled incorrectly to what it should be. It might angle up on one side more than the other. So you want to be very, very careful with that. You don't necessarily have to be as accurate as with the top, but if you can, it would probably help matters. It would definitely help with fitting the parts and everything to the frame and all that as well. So I take my time and get it up, get it trimmed up as much as I possibly can. Okay, almost done there. That looks to be about it. One last little edge right here on the front. And there we go. So that filler part there is all nice and trimmed up. So now we've compensated for the 0.2 millimeter chisel that we used to actually cut this piece off of the original shoulder part, right? So you really, realistically, you're going to be 5/100ths of a millimeter too wide, which all in all, you sand it down a little bit just to even it up, and you'll take that down in a second or two. So 0.25 is negligible from a 0.2. So sand that nice and flat, and then there we go. So now you have the original shoulder and the two parts on here. That back in there, and then here's the shoulder that we filled in the little glue spots before. Now this piece is completely nice and tight in there. It can still be removed, obviously, but there's no gap to speak of between these three parts like there would have been if we didn't add that filler strip in there, right? So there you go. So that's all done there. So now we're going to take this back off of here, and now we're going to do the really tricky part, the cutting. Let's see, it's 11:59 right now, so we're about at the 2-hour mark, but we're going to continue, and I'm going to finish out this this particular procedure because we're on a roll, right? Why not? Excuse me. Okay. So if we refer back to the original piece here that I detailed, we've got the vent in the horizontal position like this, and what I did was I brought it right up to the edge here on this piece, and then that that came down just a little bit past, just a hair past the bottom edge here. So what we're going to do is we're going to tack weld this into place. And we're going to grip this right here on the edge of the frame. And like we did before when duplicating parts, we're just going to simply get just a teeny drop of glue right there on the back edge, right? Now, we need to be very, very accurate when it comes to placing this, because you don't get a second chance at this unless you want to reapply the glue and all. Okay. And that looks pretty good. Let's get measurements so we make 100% sure that we're good here. So that's 2.5 from the bottom edge. 2.5 from the bottom edge. That's square. We are about 1.9 on the top. Woo, look at that, 1.9 on the top. Damn, not bad, not bad. I didn't think I'd be able to get it. I'll be honest with you guys. I didn't think I'd be able to get it on the first shot. But now that this is done, now that this is applied, this is where our cutout is going to be. We're basically using the part as a stencil to cut out the piece that we need gone from this top shoulder. So what we do, like I did on Friday, we got an old 0.2 millimeter chisel here. Now I've done replaced this already. I've got a much sharper 0.2, but this one is basically been my workhorse here, and this is what I use for cut scribing. So we're going to use this, like I said, as a template for that, and we're going to scribe some lines in here with this. That will act as our cut momentarily. Oh, someone messaged me. I don't know who. Whoever messaged me, if you're watching, I'll get to it in just a little bit. Sorry about that, guys. All right, and let's see, we're gonna get this other side. And we don't need to cut all the way through right now. We just need to basically get those lines started, right? Okay. These two sides are looking good. exactly what we need. Now we just got to get that all important top scribe going, because since this since it's basically meeting an angled edge, we need to be very careful at what angle we scribe in, because we want to basically scribe in at this focus camera. Damn it. There we go. We want to scribe in at this angle right here. We don't want to scribe in like this, because then this piece will not slot into the shoulder piece accurately. We need to scribe in like this. So you need to be very careful with that. So we're gonna again use this as a stencil here. Okay. So far so good. Once we've got these lines pretty much established, we can then pull the piece off so we can basically avoid damaging it. And then we can finish out our scribe cuts. So let's do that now. We're going to pop this piece off of here, and it's just, like I said, it's just tack welded onto here. So we just put our hobby knife right underneath here and just twist. There we go. And that just pops right off like you saw. So now we've got the beginnings of scribes, basically a box scribe into this thing, and we just need to finish cutting through with our scriber. Now, at this point, you can use a saw if you wanted to, like a photo etch saw. They're usually going to be 0.2 millimeter in width or kerf, and you can use that if you wanted to. I just like using the scriber just because it gives me much more dexterity, and it's just a lot more accurate for my needs. So it just takes a little, just a little while longer, nothing crazy long, but the accuracy that you get out of a scriber doing a cut like this is just, I think, over and above what a photo etch saw would be able to do, at least in my hands anyways. Okay, so we've got the two sides completely cut through. There is daylight on both of those sides, right? Oh, let's see, let's catch up. Oh, cool. Let's see, Angel De La Cruz from those Gundam guys is over here with us on Facebook. He says, "What's up, Mike?" and Tim, I guess. Thanks, Angel. Appreciate that, buddy. Mike Wine is back with us. He says, "Hey, Angel." Mike Wine says, "Just bought a T-shirt from Child of Mecha." Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. Appreciate the support, Mikey. Bailey says, "This technique I really need to see. I have a few areas where I need to countersink some detail bits." Yeah, man, this is the best way to do it, honestly. This is the best way to do it, because if you can use the piece itself as a stencil for your cuts or your scribes, that's going to give you the most accuracy. Now, granted, if you use the piece, the original piece, as a stencil, you will have a 0.2 millimeter gap around the part if you use a 0.2 millimeter chisel. Easy to overcome, because all then you have to do is backfill with some 0.25 millimeter strip, sand that a little bit, to compensate for that 5/100ths of a millimeter, and should be perfectly sized at that point, because that's what we're going to be doing here for this. And we're almost through on this side. I can see it breaking through. Let's start to get on this side here. Now you do want to be very, very, very careful when it comes to a part like this, because you're going to have thin pieces here and over on the other side, and those are going to be very, very fragile until you have the vent, you know, tacked back into place, I should say, to help strengthen that that plastic there, or else it's going to break on you. So you got to be super, super careful with it. Okay, that looks good. It's a little connected in the corners, but not a big deal because we just basically push that through, and that'll pop right off. So now we've got this. We've got that slotted. We've got that part cut out. Let's size it up. Moment of truth, right? So here's our vent. Now this should fit pretty much perfectly with a little bit on either side. We do have to trim the corners up a little bit, but for the most part, you can kind of see how that's gonna fit in there. Let's see if this side's any better. You know, it's pretty much square. So, but that looks really good. Like I said, there's some cleanup that you're going to have to do in these corners since we basically just popped it out of there. That's always going to be kind of your problem area in this particular type of procedure. But just with a little bit of knife work on those sides and those corners, just flushing those up, evening them out, you'll be perfectly fine. So got that there. All right, so now let's try that again now that the corners are cleaned up. And there we go. Oh, and of course it's not focusing. Goddamn camera. There we go. Much better. Much better. Much, much better. So now that, let me turn this to the side here, and you can kind of see how that slides up and down there, right? So really easy. Now, obviously this is loose, and like I said, I'm going to go in and backfill that with some 0.25 millimeter strip, but at this point, you kind of get what that's going to look like. So there you go, guys. Really simple, really easy to do, and all you got to do is use a scriber. Doesn't even have to be an old scriber or chisel or what have you, right? I just happen to have, this is an old one. This was the first chisel I think I ever bought, to be honest. So this 0.20 BMC, this thing's been through the ringer. And this little guy is my absolute workhorse. I've had him for years, ever since kind of BMC started, you know, kind of catching on and gaining gaining traction. So yeah, so if you have a scriber, and it doesn't even have to be a 0.2, it can be thinner or wider for that matter. But for me, 0.20 is like the perfect size because, like I said, it's the same width or kerf as like a photo etch saw. The Gundam Garage, thank you for the sub over there on YouTube. Appreciate that. That's awesome. Thank you. Welcome to the family, Gundam Garage. Thank you for that. That's awesome. So yeah, 0.20 is perfect for me because you can backfill in that space that you know, you cut with just 0.25 millimeter strip, and then you're dead on at that point. Maybe a little bit of final fitting, maybe some final sanding to fit that part in perfectly. But man, it's an easy way to cut very precise shapes. So there you go. All right, guys, let's switch back to camera 1 here, and let's get caught up with the stream before we finish up tonight. 12:14, not bad. I thought we'd be going longer with that, but hey, whatever works, right? Excuse me. Let's catch up over here on Facebook. Chris Wu says, yep, having a fine cutting edge using a chisel is essential as it's easier and less touch-up mess. Yeah, that's very true. Like you saw, those edges were almost perfectly clean. I just kind of had to clean up the corner where I just popped the piece out. Now, honestly, I could have kept going with the chisel and not even have to worry about it, but that just would have taken more time. And since this piece is a bit fragile with those two, those two sides, I didn't want to necessarily risk it. So, but yeah, using a chisel as a cutting utility, man, it's awesome. It's awesome. So, Bailey says, oh, I see what you're doing. You're cutting it out completely. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what we did. M. Nielsen says, very nicely done, Tim. Thank you. Appreciate that. All right, guys, we are caught up. Everybody's good. Awesome. Hope you guys had a good time. Hopefully I'll be in a little bit better condition. Feeling better for Wednesday's stream. We'll see. Bailey says, I start with the chisel but switch to the back edge of my X-Acto to finish up. Much less precise, but it works. Hey, whatever works, man, right? Do what works. That's what I say. So, all right, guys, let's finish up here. Let's get some business out of the way, and then we'll call it quits, right? I Build Giant Robots retro t-shirt. Go get you one on the Child of Mecha store. Hit up childofmecha.com. Right now, go do it right this very second. And hit the little store link up at the top. You'll be transported to the store. We got great shirts. We've got hats and bags. We'll have pillows soon for all of your decor needs. And like I said, I've got some really cool decor pillows that the wife, the husband, boyfriend, girlfriend would be very, very comfortable with showing, out in the open. So be on the lookout for those. They'll be in a bunch of different colors, current colors, your earth tone style colors for your decor at home, right? Those will be pretty cool. I'm pretty excited about those, really. So those will be nice. Look for those. And if you want to find any of the tools that I used today, hit up the little Amazon link below. Hit it over on that side on Facebook, and you can take a look on the Amazon page. I've already resourced a bunch of tools, resourced a bunch of books on there for your inspirational needs. One book that you're unfortunately not going to find is the one that we covered tonight, the Master Archives. Go pick that up on like HLJ, Hobby Search. Hobby Search usually has a really good selection of them in stock, so that would be my first choice. And you know what? Last but not least, don't forget to donate to the Gunpla Talk fundraiser for the National Alopecia Areata Foundation. Win that very model. One lucky donor will be sent that model, in fact, with some other goodies included as well. So with that being said, I'm going to go get some sleep, guys. Hopefully I'm going to feel better for Wednesday, but come on back. We're going to continue working on this shoulder, finish up the details on it. That's going to look pretty damn cool if I do say so myself. So for everybody out there, man, thank you for watching. That's awesome. Come on back. Make something cool between now and then. All right? All right. Deal. All right. Good night, guys. See you later. Bye.